let's go back to last weekend's game against Augsburg. Specifically, you get up 14-0, and it looks like things are going really well, and all of a sudden they put 14 straight points up on the board, and you go in at halftime tied 14-14. Then you come out, outscore them, and get the win by 20. Did you make any tactical adjustments at halftime, or was it all just strictly working on what the personnel and what your team needed to do?
Well, it was kind of a tale of, that first half was just kind of, we had momentum, then they had momentum, and we had all the momentum in the world being up 14-0, and then again we have a breakdown within our kickoff coverage, and they go the distance. So now it's 14-7, and it like popped our balloon, and you could just see it, you could feel it, and we didn't get back to being physical offensively like we had in our first few drives. They get the ball back, and they're as explosive as anybody in the country, probably offensively. They got a lot of weapons, and they go down, they score. It's 14 at halftime, and I think the biggest message we had as a staff before we went in to meet with our team was, we don't need to be panicking here. We've got everything that we need to do. We just need to get back to doing what we were doing early in the game, being physical, hanging on to the football, and that's how we went into halftime. So there wasn't any magical halftime speech, or it was just us really getting out and executing the second half. Our defense did a really nice job at containing Scott and really, to be honest, getting us the ball back. As soon as we got the ball back, we were able to do our thing, running the football, throwing the football when needed. But it was good to see our running game continue to do well. And I told our kids that before the game started, I said our goal each and every week is 34 minutes of ball control. It'd be nice to up that, and I was thinking in my head, it'd be nice to get 4 extra minutes. And I didn't say that, but then when you look at the stats, we were right at almost 38 minutes, which that was huge for us.
And what was the biggest thing in the second half, do you think, defensively? You held them to only, a touchdown and not very many yards. What did you guys step up and do in that second half really well against, like you said, an explosive offense?
Well, again, I think it was reading our keys, but been able to put some pressure on Scott and kind of containing him, keeping him in the pocket, and they still made some big plays, but they didn't have a steady diet of it, which we were able to get a couple turnovers, and then just some nice 3 and outs, and gave us the ball back, which was great, and give a lot of credit to our defensive staff, and because it's not much fun to prepare for a team like that when they've got so many weapons, but they gave us the ball back offensively, and we were able to do our thing. So it was a great win for us on the road at Augsburg, never an easy place to play, so we were pretty happy, and really the only negative on the day was some of our special team play. I thought offensively we did a lot of great things, and a lot of contributions from across the board. You look at Zach Southwick and the day that he had, Alex McLean, Griffin Neal. It was in our offensive line. We had some great games out of those guys, and defensively, really across the board. I thought our D-line did a great job putting pressure on people. Our backers did their job, and secondary, we were able to get Mene Spofford. He got another pick, his second one on the year, which was huge for us. So it was a good day.
Just finally, too, just real quickly, Alex McLean, people probably haven't heard a lot about him. All of a sudden he shows up in the box score with over 100 yards on the day, a 60-yard run. Usually, what is his biggest asset that he brings to that fullback position?
Well, it's his strength and just his overall toughness. I mean, this kid's tough to bring down. He's your old school traditional style fullback. He's kind of a wrecking ball is what he is, and he's not very tall, but he's loaded, and strong kid. And there were many big collisions that he had, and he was winning out on them. In fact, he's won out on most of them all season long. We use him and Dominic Ferboni quite a bit. They kind of share that time. They're 2 different style backs, But Mac is certainly that power guy, and when I saw him go off on that 60-yard run, we still laugh at it to this day. I told him, I can't believe you made it. And he goes, the only thing I could think about was when Mitch Tower came behind the young man from Carleton and stripped the ball at the 1 yard line. So he says, I was just squeezing that thing as tight as I could possibly squeeze it. So we had a good laugh about that, but it was about, it was a 60-yard run. He was shot out of a cannon and didn't get touched.
Now let's go forward to this week. Once again, it's a home situation. We're going to host Hamline. And it's another type where you were playing Carleton 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Hamline's a team that's coming on.
Very much so.
And Chad Reshesky, their coach, has done a great job putting them together in the 2 years. And they probably have two of the better backs in the country as far as their quarterback, Tim Bana, and Austin Duncan, both juniors, both very special. First, talk about defensively. What is it going to take to stop Tim Bana, the quarterback? He threw for over 300 yards against St. Thomas. Then also Austin Duncan, who's every year for the last 3 years, he's pretty much right at 1,000 yards.
Oh, no question about it. Probably the toughest back that we'll face thus far. I mean, we had Scott last week, who was probably one of the best athletes that we've seen. This week we've got one of the hardest running backs in our league, if not the hardest running back. And he's special, and their quarterback's special, and they do a lot. I mean, they got a lot of different formations, and so they throw a lot at defense. So the prep in preparing for a team like this, they certainly don't make it easy on us. They and they are getting better. They're very well coached. We gotta just make sure we're reading our keys and we're containing them, and we need 11 guys getting to the football. That's for sure. They're solid. They're putting up points. I mean, they had over 300 yards passing against St. Thomas last week. They had over, 150 yards rushing against St. Thomas. So they're putting up some numbers. What we need to try to do is just do our job and do it to the best of our ability. Read our keys, get 11 guys to the football, make sure that we're containing them, and hopefully get some turnovers somehow, some way to get our offense back on the field.
I know you're going to say, once again, you have going against a great offense like that. Offensively, time of possession will be key. But what do you think as far as that time of possession? Will we be able to run the ball, or is it going to be a steady diet, run and pass type of thing?
Well, we always go into our games looking at, we're a two-dimensional team, and we got to take what a defense gives us. I don't think you can sit here and say, okay, the first 15 plays we're going to go 10 run, 5 pass, because we just don't know how they'll line up. We have an idea of what they've done against us in the past, what they're doing this year, and they do quite a bit. They bring a lot of pressure. They bring a lot of 6-man pressure, and they're aggressive. They're a much improved football team, and Chad's done a great job, and so we know that we've got a test on Saturday.
Finally, last question. Your own personal experience against Hamline. You played pretty well against Hamline. 2 years, your junior and senior year, you caught over 400 yards of receiving yards. You had over 20 catches, and you had 7 TDs. But fans might not know, that's probably not your most memorable game against Hamline. That happened in your sophomore season when you hosted Hamline up here in a pretty much a blizzard. Just talk about the conditions, like before, the Friday before, and then also during the game, what you guys had to put up with.
No, I just remember my sophomore year, and it was a game, I think it was the last game of the regular season, and it had to be played because we win the conference championship when we're in the playoffs, and they couldn't cancel the game. Hamline had made it up. We knew the weather was starting to come in, and it started coming in later afternoon into the evening, and it didn't stop. I mean, they closed Interstate 94. It was actually the first game and the only game my folks couldn't make it to. They got as far as Alexandria, and they had to turn back. But it was the worst game I've ever been a part of. I mean, the winds were blowing plus 30s. It was snowing. It was cold. I remember sitting in the locker room just peeking out the door, and you couldn't even see the end zone from the locker room doors. That's how the whiteout conditions were, and I remember putting Vaseline ointment all over our faces, and most everybody did on our team. And I also remember Kevin Hayden and myself and Dave Ertl, our kicker, anytime our offense would come off the field, Doc Lundeen had his nice Jeep Wrangler parked behind the south grandstands. Well, we kept running to the back of this and getting in this vehicle. And Dick Tressel, the head coach at Hamline, was wondering, what the heck are these three guys keep running behind the locker room or behind the grandstands? Well, he found out we were going to a car, a warm car, and they kiboshed that in a pretty big hurry. But it was so bad. We're just happy to get a win in that game, and you know, the field was pretty much tilted, but we couldn't do anything offensively. We got lucky a few times and found the end zone, literally found it, because you didn't know where it was at. It was bad conditions. We make the playoffs, and we did really well in the playoffs too. We got one game away from the national championship, so it was a pretty big game for us.
Well, hopefully Saturday you won't have to worry about those conditions.
Yeah.
Should be nice and sunny.
70 and sunny with a little wind, maybe in the 30s, which is par for the course up here.
Good luck.
Hey, thanks, Jim.